That's my buddy Christ, as I was just telling producer Dave. Although I don't think he does double guns. I think one of them's just a thumbs up, maybe. Buddy Christ, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go see Dogma. Great movie. Welcome to the AfterBuzz, everybody. Brandon Coates here, your host, producer Dave, chilling over there. We're working on getting him a camera because we need to put his pretty face on the television for you guys because it's what we all need in this world. But anyway, welcome to the AfterBuzz. We got some awesome stuff lined up for today's show. It is September 25th. 2019. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic Wednesday. If you're watching this on a replay, don't forget this is live at 10:30 Mountain Time on the KLAQ YouTube channel every Wednesday, at least when I'm here. Make sure you guys are clicking the like button down there, you're subscribing, and you're getting the notifications for when we go live as well. I got a message from Joe already in the YouTube chat. If you guys would like to get involved, questions, comments, anything. If it's here live during the YouTube chat, by all means, fire away. He says, I was trying to locate you on the pay-per-view. I may have some good picks. Here's what he's talking about. What we were talking about last week with, no, it wasn't on here. It was Rockstar 101. I got so much shit going on, man.
You've got a lot
there's too many things. So it was on Rockstar 101 where Shim and I were talking about WWE. And when I lived in Florida, there was multiple times I got really, really good seats to WWE. Now there are there's YouTube footage that people filmed with their phones from Survivor Series 2010, and that's when I was front row for that pay-per-view. And it's the one where and you can see me. I'm wearing an Oregon Duck T-shirt. It's a big green shirt. You see this like super white head. I didn't have my beard yet, so it's like a Q-tip and a green shirt is what you're looking at. And it's one where Kane and Edge were going against each other. And I think Edge puts Kane in a wheelchair and he runs and he slams him like into one of the barricades. And we were right behind him when they did it. So as he's going forward, the camera's pointed like this. And me and my buddy Kai are like, yeah, this is awesome. It goes great. I even showed my wife last night. And she's like, you were getting into it, weren't you? And I was like, yeah, like it's, WWE events live are fun. They're a lot of fun. The thing that weirds me out the most is there's legitimately people out there that think it's real. There are people who are getting so pissed off with, that's a 3! That should have been a 3 count! And I'm like, dude, it's fake. Like, you know that, right? Like, this is not a legitimate competition.
Wait, what? Fake?
Oh, it's weird. So, anyway, if you've never been to a WWE event, I highly recommend it just because there's so much fun live. It might not be your thing on TV. It might not be anything that you'd really get into, but being there live is awesome. Kind of like hockey. Hockey is a great sport live. Even if you've never been into hockey or anything like that, it's awesome. And I know I said this last year, and I think the year before, and I think the year before that, I am going to pick a damn hockey team this year, and I'm getting into the NHL, damn it. Did you hear that? You're going to hold me to that.
I'm going to.
All right, so producer Dave over there, he's going to hold me to it because I believe that
what are your top 3 teams, though? Like, do you have...
For hockey?
For hockey, yeah.
Well, I always was partial to the Florida Panthers just because I lived there. We had a really good relationship with them, but they suck. It was the one Florida sports team I could really get behind, the one I could actually kind of root for there. Chicago Blackhawks, because they have a link to Portland. The Portland Winterhawks is the WHL team, which is one of the minor league teams. And the whole Chicago jerseys, that's how they got. So they have the same logo, pretty much the same everything. And that's how Portland got their original jerseys. They were used Blackhawks jerseys, which is why they had C's on all of them. It was for Chicago. It wasn't for captain or anything like that. The jerseys had C's on them, so that's why they shipped them over. Let me think here. So those would be the top 2. Boston Bruins, I guess, would probably be the third one, just because of that kind of New England Boston connection. Like I'll root for the Red Sox if they're not playing the Twins. I kind of like the Celtics in the Eastern Conference, but not that much. But those would probably be the top 3. I really liked the Golden Knights a couple of seasons ago, back when they made that Stanley Cup run. And I can't forget about my guy, Ovechkin. Like, that dude's awesome. Not Ole, but Alexander Ovechkin. Like, he's hilarious. So maybe those 4. I guess
the
would be the big one. So
Yeah.
I got to lock in here. Let me think here. Joe says, "What do you mean it's fake? You're telling me that the Big Show and Captain Insano are not twins?" Yes, I'm bursting your bubble there, buddy. There's not footage of him high-fiving me though. That's the thing. There's people who have it on YouTube, and it cuts out right when he comes over to my side to give me a high five because all the other wrestlers are on the other side because that's where the cameras are pointed.
Okay.
So if this is the ramp, and there's fans here, all the cameras are coming from this angle, so the wrestlers stick to this side. I'm sitting right here, front row. Oh, it was awesome! Like it was great. It was great. I thought he broke my hand, but anyway. So that's kind of what Joe is bringing up there in the YouTube chat. And if you guys want, make sure you go listen to that episode of Rockstar 101. It's on the podcast over Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. And then there's like 5 other ways you can get podcasts that it's on. So if there's any other way that you get it, you can find it right there. David is saying, I remember when my dad slowed down a VHS tape of one of the WrestleManias. It was Andre the Giant getting his head slammed into the ring post. See, that's the unfortunate thing. When you start slowing down some of that stuff, you start to realize, like, oh shit, like that wasn't even close. Like he missed him by a mile. Yeah, but my buddy Kai we were also super obnoxious at those things because we didn't have any vested interest. I didn't know who anybody was really at that point. I was really into wrestling 99, 2000, 2001. But then I stopped watching it, and it's nothing I watch actively now, but it still fascinates the hell out of me.
Oh, absolutely.
I will always watch YouTube biographies. Like one of the ones I was recently watching was how Jeff Hardy was like super drunk at like a TNA event against Sting, and they were trying to figure that out. It was nuts, but I love watching that crap. There was a Royal Rumble that was in Florida that we had a suite for. There was obviously the Survivor Series. I don't remember which one it was that Shaq sat in front of me for, but I think it was a pay-per-view, and he just bam right there, and I can't see around the guy.
The worst seat in the house.
Yeah, I know, but they moved him. He was there very momentarily. I mean, like I might make it sound like he was there for like an hour. No, I mean he was there maybe a few seconds. Like he came in and he and his family sat down, and I guess they wanted to incorporate him into a storyline. And so they moved him behind Jerry the King Lawler and Jim Ross. Okay. So they moved him over there, so I didn't really have to worry about that. And it gives me a great, great story to talk about.
That's cool.
But anyway, got some topics that we're going to get to today.
There's nothing fake about jumping off a cage, 50 feet
into
a table.
They legitimately hurt themselves.
Absolutely.
Man, you watch that Hell in a Cell with The Undertaker and Mankind? My God. That's super cool. Mick Foley going to be in El Paso, Texas at Comic-Con coming up,
awesome.
Which is pretty sweet. That's a guy I would actually like to meet. Joe says he was drugged, and you can see Sting really mad and finish the match within minutes. See, you're saying he was drugged. The stories that I saw is that Jeff Hardy, this is what we're talking about when he came out for this TNA event, is he was drunk. He'd been drinking all day. People backstage kept asking him if he was okay. It got to the point when he was in the ring, he takes his shirt off and he goes to like every corner of the ring, like, should I throw it over here? Or should I throw it over here? And they ended up playing it off really well. I think Eric Bischoff came out and did something as well. And man, you want to talk about being able to work on the fly. They did an amazing job of kind of masking this whole Jeff Hardy incident. But anyway, it's on YouTube. Go find it. So I'm going to talk about the whole, register to vote thing that's going on this week. It was the wife and I. It was our anniversary weekend this past weekend. We'll talk about some schooling stuff. I was telling producer Dave about this, PreCalculus test that I took. So I'll get into that here at the end. But the first one, it has to do with. Oh, wait a moment. Carlos, no, I have not been. He's asked if I've ever been to Lucha Libre and Juarez. No, I have not. It has to do with sending us answers in the chat. For the love of God, I understand that you people want us to know that you know the answers to these questions, to these games that we're playing. Please, I am begging you, please, don't send us the answers either through email, message, in the Facebook chat, whatever it is, because it ruins the game. Because if my email's open, bing, it pops up right there. If it's in the Facebook chat, I still have to monitor the chat, especially like today when Buzz is fucking around with the trolls, when he's sitting there like sending messages, like he gets into it like a 12-year-old girl. And it's like, just stop. You're not you're not winning anything. You're not doing anything other than make yourself look stupid. Like, just stop. But then that goes to goes to show how I've felt for this whole long time here about how Buzz has very thin skin. Like very, very thin. Like he doesn't take insults very kindly most of the time. So it was when we were doing the whatchamacallit, the Ukraine President Trump phone call, which we knew. I mean, it wasn't meant to be funny. I mean, yeah, like a little bit funny because we had goofy voices, but the whole point was to read the full transcript on the air. There was no jokes. Like we didn't write anything, and we specifically said before we even did it, we're not altering this. Now, if we did, we could have made it a little bit funny, but the point was to get the information out there with our own goofy voices of this is exactly what was said between these two. Eli the Moon says Brandon hammered me one time for answering a question in the chat. I did give Eli the old hammer, and he learned quickly, which makes Eli a good dude. There's other fuck faces out there that don't learn so quickly. And that was funny because there's other people who were sitting there saying that, oh, you're not gonna hammer, and I'm like, clearly you guys are new here. Welcome, you will get banned. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's really not that difficult. Like, it's truly just like a couple of clicks of the mouse, and if it means that you go away, I'm perfectly fine with that. There's been multiple people that I've banned from the Facebook live stream, and they're still available to go on the KLAQ stuff, and they piss and moan about, oh, Brandon banned me from the Facebook. It's like, well, don't be an idiot. It's quite simple. The rules aren't anything extravagant. It's like, just don't be an asshole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, so that's the thing. Just for the love of God, if we're playing a game on the air where we are competing, please don't answer the questions. Because one of the reasons I'm saying this here on the AfterBuzz too is because a lot of the people who are here in the AfterBuzz also watch on the Facebook live stream. So I'm just begging you, please don't do it, because it does ruin the game for us because we still have to monitor that stuff. But I don't want the answer given to us. The radio bit is for us to figure it out on the air. It's not who can tell us first. I had to tell this to my wife because she sent me the answer today too. Like, she was just like, Credence, because the whole thing was it was Buzz's new girlfriend saying Credence Clearwater Revival, which, by the way, whatchamacallit, Buzz is totally living an episode of 90 Day Fiance. Like, you guys know this, right?
That's what it
Like,
sounded
they
like.
met on Facebook. She barely speaks English. Now, she is here legally. She doesn't need a green card or anything, so that's not really what it is. But it's other than that, it's kind of an episode of 90 Day Fiance, or a whole season, and it's pretty awesome. I'm loving it. But yeah, so anyway, so I just wanted to touch on that with answering in the chat. Just please, for the love of God, don't do it. Next topic has to do with registering to vote, because it was National Registration Day yesterday or something like that.
Yes.
Like register to vote day.
Register to vote day.
And I see all this stuff on Facebook from people saying, register to vote. If you don't vote, your voice isn't heard. If you don't vote, you have no reasons to complain and all this other stuff. And the whole time in the back of my brain, I'm like, no. There's a lot of dumb people out there. All you're trying to do is get stupid people to vote. And I'm a firm believer that an ill-informed vote is far worse than a non-vote. Which is why, for me personally, if I'm out voting and there's an issue that I didn't research, if there's candidates I didn't research, I'm not going to vote. Because, first of all, I'm not Democrat or Republican, so I'm not going to be like, oh, blue ticket, red ticket, or however it is. I'm going to vote for who I think, either way, I align most with. And I've voted for Republicans and Democrats in every single election. But man, I see all this stuff on Facebook. It's like, you have to vote, you have to vote. I think people idealize it. Idolize it? I don't fucking know what I'm trying to say. They make it sound more like great, grand, and wonderful than it really is. That was really poor English, by the way, by me. Idolize? I don't know. But whatever we're talking about here.
I got what you're saying.
Yeah, when we're registering to vote, where it's like, oh yeah, this is something you need to do. No, you don't. If you don't know what you're talking about, if you don't know the issues, don't vote. Like, that's way better than going in with a misinformed vote. And unfortunately, I think there's far too many people out there that actually do that. And then you'll, of course, hear both sides saying, like, well, we're Republicans and we need to make sure that we vote for Republicans so that we stay in power. Blow it out your ass, dude. That's not a big deal. I'm also a firm believer. This is where I'm completely different than everybody else. Is that I'm a firm believer that if a state has been run by one party for an extended period of time, there needs to be a change. Oregon is the perfect example of this. It's been a Democratic state for a long time. It's been a blue state for a very long time. John Kitzhaber was elected governor, and then it came out like there was some crazy shady stuff going on with this dude and his wife, where she was, man, you want to talk about corrupt as hell? They both should be in prison right now. Like that's not an exaggeration. There's no way they shouldn't be, but they're not because the whole thing's Democrats. And it's very tough to get Republicans elected in the state of Oregon unless you're in the rural areas, which then of course, yeah, it's a lot of a lot of red out there, but you don't get you don't get a lot of the blue in that portion. And I'm a firm believer, like Oregon needs a Republican governor. Like they need somebody to kind of go reset things to make it right. And I think that if a state is run too much by one party, it fucks everything up. And that's where you get into this kind of this one-sided politics where they're only going to be leaning towards one thing, and that's what's messed up the city of Portland. I mean, Portland is it's a really poorly run city. Everybody wants to look at it as this amazing city. It's very poorly run. They did this bridge project. So you've got in the city a river that splits it in half so that on one side you have the west side and the other side you have the east side. And right over on the west side of see, so I got to remember doing this because when I'm on camera. So the west would be mine. So west would be this way
Yes.
when I'm on camera. So over on the west side of the river, that's where downtown is at. So as you have this river, you've got a bunch of bridges that cross and everything else like that. Blanca says, so should Texas be ran by a Democrat? Yeah, I think it's time for a change in the state of Texas. I'm not saying for an extended period of time. What I'm saying is if one state has been run by one specific party for a very long time, you're probably about due for a change. And one of the things that happened with this bridge project is they went with this one company that nobody knew a whole lot about. And it was this really experimental technology that they weren't really sure of. And it just became a disaster. They went and put this stuff in. They had to redo this thing completely. Like they put it in and all of a sudden they realized, oh, the stuff that they put in here, it's not going to hold. This bridge is going to collapse in a year. So then they had to shut the bridge down and go completely redo everything. And it's because you had the Democrats in the city who liked this one company. There was people in office who were friends with this one company. There's nobody to say otherwise. So they went forward with this project, and it hosed absolutely everything up. Blanca says, oh, gosh, please no. I mean, I know you're a Republican, so obviously you want, a Republican, but that's the problem, is the fact that you have an inability to see the good that the other side could possibly do. It's always like, no, I hate Democrats, or oh my God, I hate Republicans. Nah, like that's where all of this like double-sided politics needs to stop. It needs to end because that's what, kind of hoses things up in the long run. That's what's happened to Oregon. There's a lot of problems with Texas right now as well. And I'm not saying like, hey, you need to let them in for 8 years or something like that, but even it out every now and then. And I guarantee you'll probably start to see some changes for the better in the state because you're going to get better ideas. You're going to get fresher ideas. You're going to get some ideas that maybe weren't even going to be thought of when it came to the previous regime. But where that needs to stop is when you get to the point that they're like, oh, well, we run this state. We can do whatever the hell we want. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? Kind of what I'm saying there?
It does.
But just be open to other ideas. And that's all that needs to be done. Let me see here. David says, for me, I would favor whoever does best by Texas, regardless of political affiliation. Blanca says, I'm actually not a Republican, just lean that way. Democrats here in Texas are way too liberal. Well, Democrat liberal, like that's kind of the damn point. If you think they're liberal here, fucking go somewhere else because it's way more liberal elsewhere. I'll tell you that. Like, you think it's bad here? Not even close. Like it doesn't even hold a candle to how liberal other places are. Franklin Sharples, what's up, buddy? He says the issue these days is the candidate placing party over people mentality. Once voted into an office, a person should work for all, not one. And that's actually a perfect point there by Frank. And that's something that I think would kind of help get reset here a little bit if you were able to kind of recycle different parties through these states. But anyway, so that's my big thing on this. I kept seeing all these things pop up on social media. Make sure you register to vote. Go register to vote, or your voice doesn't count. It's like, no, like if you're an idiot, please don't vote. You know what I mean?
I think that's what both sides want. Both sides want the uninformed.
Yeah, like if you lean towards a Democrat or Republican, they want those people to vote because it's like, well, it's an easy vote for us.
Exactly. But I agree.
Sorry, I had to take a drink there because my voice is getting all dry. Anyway, next topic that we'll cover here. Anniversary weekend. 1 year anniversary with the wife, ladies and gentlemen.
Brandon. Congratulations.
Thank you.
1 year.
So the wife and I were kind of talking about a bunch of different things over the weekend. And one of them was kind of what we would have done differently planning the wedding. Would we invite different people, more people, or whatever the case may be? One of the things that wouldn't change would be obviously the location. We had it at her church. It was a beautiful ceremony. I love the priest there. That guy's awesome. My wife is so upset that he knows who I am and he still doesn't remember who she is because she's been going there since she was 11 years old. Like there was one time where she's talking to him because our kid's getting ready to go through catechism, and which I had Buzz dying laughing because I would call it cataclysm in front of him. And he's like, "Are you serious? Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, cataclysm." And he's like, "Oh my God!" And he thinks it's the funniest damn thing in the world. But no, she's going through catechism, and my wife was talking to the priest, and he was like, "Oh, how's Brandon doing?" Like he's asking about me and stuff. And when it comes to her, he's like, "I don't feel like he knows who I am." I guarantee he does because we watched some of our wedding video over the weekend, and one of the things that he said, because it was in English and Spanish ceremony. And one of the things that he says at the beginning, which was in Spanish, was he's really happy to be here doing this for Myra since she's been coming to this church since he was 11. It was really, really cool. Like he's just a really cool dude. Like, those people out there who are, like have a very calming presence to you. Like being around them, you're like, yeah, that's a good guy. I mean, obviously with this priest, that he's kind of got a bigger power working for him. But that's the way I'm with him. Like this guy, he's awesome. Like he's a really, really cool dude. He called me down super early on as she's coming down the aisle. He comes up and he goes to shake my hand and he looks at me and he's like, "Are you nervous?" And I'm like, "Yeah." "Can you tell?" And he goes, "Oh, you're gonna be fine." And like it was kind of like okay, like that's not so bad. But some of the stuff that we would have done. David's asking about any anniversary plans. We did that this past weekend, and I'm going to get into how old we are, because that's basically what we found out this weekend. One of the things that we figured out in regards to the wedding planning is we wouldn't have been so limited on invites because we were really concerned with the amount of people. And as we were looking at it, the venue held 250, I think, and we sent invites to over 300 people or something like that. And even then, I was still nervous, which is why a lot of people here didn't get plus ones. Now, if you were married or you've had like a steady, significant other for a long time, then obviously they're going to get a plus one. But that's why Buzz wasn't getting a plus one for his girlfriend at that time, because like they had just started dating or something like that. And I'm like, I'm not. And that fucker got a free meal out of it because he showed up when he wasn't supposed to show up. That piece of shit. Anyway. I'm not upset about it. But no, that's one thing like when we were talking about it, we definitely wouldn't have been so strict on. Like my family didn't even get invited from Portland. I mean, obviously my mom and my dad and my sister, they got their invites, but like the extended family, none of them got invited, and they're all pretty pissed about it. They were upset that they didn't get an invite to my wedding. Where first off, there's some of them were like, "Well, I really don't want you here because I know you guys are going to fight, and I don't want that." But the main reason why was because we were planning on doing something in Portland this past summer, and obviously it just didn't work out because of money and scheduling and everything else like that. But our plan is to still do some sort of a celebration in Portland for all the people in Portland who weren't able to make it to the wedding. So I mean, if you look at the kind of the guest list, it was like me, my wife.
That's the way
because it's here in El Paso, and it's
right.
and I told her that. I'm like, look, I'm willing to make some concessions here so that you get to invite who you need to invite. And even then, there were still people who were not happy about stuff. It just amazes me how butthurt people get so easily about certain things. But I think all in all, I mean, her family is great. They had a blast. I know that all of my friends and family, they still talk about the wedding, how amazing it was. Eli's saying that we had the reception at the zoo. How was that? Yes. We did, and it was awesome. I'm so glad that we picked the zoo. One of the reasons we did pick it is because it does have a larger capacity. There are some other places they fit 100 people or 150 people, and the whole point with here was that it was a nice sized venue where we could just get a bunch of people in there. The lions were out. There was some of my friends when they first showed up. They got footage of the lions like like ground, and you can, and so when we got there, me, the wife, and kid, we got to go feed the giraffe. So as we're over there, we can hear the lion like that, and it was so cool, man. But yeah, I definitely would do it there again. Myra, who works at the zoo, is awesome. If you ever are planning an event, go to the zoo, ask for her, tell her I sent you. She covers everything, man. Like she knocks it out of the park. Like she did such an amazing job making sure that everything was in line for the entire day. Like we would definitely do it again. The zebras were out, so people got some really cool pictures of the zebra. Producer Dave knows he was there. We invited him. He pulled out the cups. That was one of the cool things that we did as kind of like gifts for people. Is that we had like the wine glasses, and the theme was up. So we had two different versions. One was the house with the balloons, and one was the wedding picture when Ellie like goes to kiss him. So those were the two different versions of the glass that we had. We actually still have a whole case of them back at the house for when people have their glasses start to break because they're wine glasses, they're not gonna last forever. Eli's asking everyone could just walk around. Did you have to hire a bartender? Not really walk around the entire zoo because obviously they put the animals away to go to bed. So here in the El Paso Zoo, when you walk in, you'll have the gift shop to the left, and then that's where you kind of choose where you're going to go, and the lions are directly in front of you. Everything to the right's blocked off. Like that's you can't go that way, and then you turn around to the left, and then there's kind of like an outdoor drink area, and then it's blocked off there. So it's very limited as far as that. But the main one is the zebras are out, and they're right there next to the windows at the where you're having the actual venue at. Speaking of weddings, how much time until Buzz's 90-day fiance makes him propose? Well, she's not looking for a green card, so I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. I don't think he's really in any rush. Although, I think it'd be really funny if she like duped him into it somehow because he couldn't understand what she was saying. Like if she's like, but what would be really funny is if she actually speaks really clear English. She's just fucking with him right now, where it's just like she's getting to that point so that she can rope him in that way. But yeah, so we had the anniversary this past weekend. We ended up going downtown, stayed at Hotel Indigo, which was awesome. It's a great hotel. Concierge Dave. Something about the name Dave and being good people. So. You guys are good people, man. My dad's name's Dave. He's a good guy. We got producer Dave. We had the concierge. Man, he met us down below. We valet parked. He took all of our stuff. We went and checked in. By the time we got up to and he even said, he's like, you guys probably want a fancy, nice room with a view. We'll get you up on a high, we ended up on the 10th floor. Great view up there. And by the time we got up there to go get into the room, he was already waiting for us with our bags. Like everything was already in the room. It was pretty cool. So we did that, and then we went to Cafe Central down in downtown El Paso. It was, 5 blocks or 4 blocks or something like that from the hotel. Just amazing dinner, man. If you want just a quality dinner, go there here in the city of El Paso. It was so damn good.
Downtown's gotten a lot better.
Oh, man, it was so good. And you can tell that they're still improving it because there's a shitload of construction going on down there. But, yeah, Cafe Central was just – it was so damn good. My wife had made the reservation, so she mentioned that it was her anniversary, so they had like flower petals all over the table, and they had a little happy anniversary card for us and stuff like that. So it was pretty damn cool. So we got stuffed with food, and then the plan was we're gonna do that. We'll maybe go hit up another bar, and then one of the reasons we stayed at Hotel Indigo is to go to the bar at Hotel Indigo. They got a nice pool out there and just a really good view and everything else. Our room overlooked the bar. So we get into the hotel room and we're both incredibly full and fucking tired. And so we lay down on the bed and my wife starts sleeping and she was like, well, let's watch some of our wedding video. So I grab the disc, I pop it into my laptop, not this one. I've got my MacBook Pro. But apparently I don't think the MacBook Pro has Blu-ray on it. And disc was Blu-ray, so we didn't get to watch that. We watched Aquaman instead. That movie sucks. That was not a good movie. It was so cheesy. The lines are dumb. Like I get that Jason Momoa is a really, really cool dude, but that movie was terrible. It was so bad. Like it's a 1 out of 5 stars maybe. But yeah, so we're sitting there, we're just kind of hanging out. And she was like, okay. And so it's like 11, dinner wrapped up. We got back to the hotel at like 11:20, I think. And so she's like, wake me up at, at midnight and we'll go down. We never got out of bed. We just stayed, like, we're so old. We just stayed there the whole time. So, anyway.
That's cool.
Yeah, Frank saying Aquaman made no sense. No, it didn't. It was absolutely terrible. It was a turd of a movie. But we watched it on an anniversary. So I mean, that's pretty much mostly what we did. We had another. We did a dinner at the house with the kid on Sunday. We put up Halloween decorations on Sunday as well.
Really?
I'm
Already?
working on. So far every year when we've been in this house, I will draw silhouettes of something, and that's what we put on our front windows. First year it was Nightmare Before Christmas. Last year it was Chernobog, which is actually my sleeve tattoo. So it was him like coming out of the mountains with his wings and stuff. And so this year I haven't done it yet. So you're gonna have to wait and find out. But got all the ideas up in my head. So we're gonna be doing that soon. But yeah, so that was the anniversary weekend. Final topic. Moving on here on the After Buzz. We're gonna talk a little pre-cal test. Never remember how we even got on the topic, but producer Dave and I were talking about schooling and stuff, and I'd mentioned how I was back in school back in 2013, and I was like, yeah, I took pre-calculus for the third time. Now, when you hear that, you might think, oh my God, Brandon's an idiot. He fails pre-calculus every time he takes it. No, I'm actually really good at pre-calculus. It's just that there was always kind of an extended period of time between classes. So the first time I took it was my junior year in high school, and I aced it. The second time I took it was when I enrolled in college, which was a community college, which would have been a couple of years later, and after I aced it, and that's where this main story is going. But I ended up taking it again back in 2013 because it had been 14 years since I had taken a math class. So I took pre-calculus again. I only got like a B plus, and it pisses me off because I'm smarter than that. But something happened during the test. I fucked it up. But anyway, so back in like 1998, 99, when I'm taking this pre-calculus test, and this is when I got really into partying. Like I was out every weekend, even weeknights, just partying my ass off. I'd show up to class completely hungover. I'd reek, like when you just you smell like just the fumes of alcohol. I was like that. So there was a buddy of mine in the class. And so the final's coming up and the teacher tells us ahead of time, by the way, I took the test last night and I think we had an hour and a half for the test. And he goes, it took me 2 hours to finish. This is coming from the teacher. He goes, it took me 2 hours to finish. So he was like, I'm going to grade this thing on a curve. Finish whatever you guys can, and then we'll go from there. He's like, but if it takes me 2 hours, I can't expect you guys to get this whole thing done in an hour and a half. So anyway, I started taking the test. I'm super hungover. I partied my ass off the night before, and I hadn't eaten breakfast. My stomach starts growling, and I mean growling. Like in the middle of the test, it's super quiet, and you just hear this. And I'm trying to I'm doing this weird thing with my stomach where I'm like trying if I pin it against my spine, maybe it won't growl or like whatever the hell else I can do to make this thing stop. It's not stopping. So I'm sitting here, I'm going through the test. 45 minutes goes by and I'm done. And I'm like, well, fuck, he said it was really hard. I'll just turn it in. So I go up and he's heard my stomach growling this whole time. I go up there, I reek of alcohol, and I hand the test. And the teacher looks at me and he's like, really? You done? I was like, yeah. I was like, you can grade it right now if you want. He was like, okay. So he starts flipping through this thing and goes through it and he goes, you got 110%, man.
What?
I didn't miss a single thing. Like I fucking aced it.
Wow.
And he goes, how did you do it that fast? I go, I don't know. I was like, it's just like, for some reason it makes sense. And I did it and I fucking walked out and I aced the class. And that's why I'm so pissed. Wow. I got a B plus in 2013 when I took pre-calculus. I'm so pissed. It's like I'm smarter than that. But yeah, so that was my interesting, funny kind of math test there, because there's certain things that have always come very easy to me. Math is one of them. The wife and I were actually talking about this because we had parent-teacher conferences yesterday, and we were talking about like the gifted programs. For me, when I was growing up, it was called TAG, Talented and Gifted. What was it at your school? Was it honors or something like that?
It was like the GT program.
Yeah, that's what they call it kind of now. We're with my kids, GT. It's gifted and talented, I guess. Right. Or ours was TAG. And now when I was a kid, you would take those tests, and if you scored above a certain percentage, you got into whichever ones. And they had different ones where like one was kind of like a math and science, and then there was like the English one. And I knocked the tests out of the park when I was, fourth grade or whatever the hell it was. So I'm in all of the classes. And as we're taking these classes, I do remember at one point there was another group that they got to dissect shark, like
Really?
a shark, and it was pregnant. So there's a bunch of baby sharks in there, and it stunk up the whole school. Like the
Wow.
whole downstairs of my elementary school was just this, like it reeked so bad. But anyway, so after a while, I remember I talked about this. I think it was on the AfterBuzz. When I was talking about how I finally got I got straight A's in fourth grade, and I realized, well, this is stupid. Like I put in all that work for nothing.
Right.
Like my life doesn't drastically change because I got straight A's. So I I started to realize, and this is my own problem. Like this is how I get in my own way quite frequently. Is I think I know better than everybody else. I don't. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't. There's things that I do. There's things that I do, and if I really fight for something, I do know it. But there are other times where I'm like, I think I might know that, or like I think I, and it's usually I know better what's best for me, and it's not the case. Like it's not. Like there's so many. Like I don't know how my parents put up with me growing up. I don't know how they didn't smack the shit out of me on a daily basis. Where it's like I'm arguing about something, and it's just like, dude, I don't know why they were just like, shut the fuck up and listen to us. We know better, but bless my parents' hearts. They're really good parents. But they got to the point where it came to like this tag program where I locked in on the math, I locked in on the science portion, but when it came to the English, I'm like, I hate reading. I hate writing. Like I don't want to be doing this. It's not enjoyable to me. So I just stopped. I just stopped doing the work. And I would just kind of half-ass it, and then it finally got to the part where like, well, your grades aren't high enough to go to the next level. And I was like, good, it worked.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was hoping for. Now, of course, as I'm looking back at it, I'm like, I should have put forth my best effort. But that's the way that I was always wired growing up, man, and that bled into college as well. I mean, there was a time in. Have I ever talked about how I did in chemistry when I was
No,
in high
not.
school? Because like Frank just wrote Rain Man I guess when it came to the pre-calculus stuff. The Rain Man stuff comes to chemistry. So I was just talking to somebody about this. I can't remember who it was, but when I worked for that country station in Portland, I used to balance chemical equations out of boredom. Like that's what I did. When I was live on the air, you talk for about 20 seconds, and then the music plays for 10 minutes. And so I would go to Khan Academy. Oh, it was during one of our events we had out at a Planet Fitness out on the east side. And I was talking to Joe from promotions and I think Angel from the coast from Easy. Wow, that's a dated reference to Florida. The coast was our AC station. It's
Huh?
KISS here. That's really weird that I had that Freudian slip. But yeah, so Angel and there was somebody else there. I can't remember who the hell it was. I think it was Dave, not producer Dave, different Dave, promotions Dave. But anyway, that's beside the point. So we got to talking about Khan Academy. If you've never heard of Khan Academy, it's a brilliant website that's there designed specifically for education, and it goes. It can start with preschool math all the way to calculus, like just really advanced stuff. You can like music theory. Like it's a really cool thing. If you've never gone to Khan Academy, which I want to look it up because I can't remember um, how it's spelled. Khan
Mm-hmm.
Academy. Um, and so what I would do is I would just go to Khan Academy and watch videos on chemistry, and then I would balance equations. I have a notebook laying around somewhere that's just got a bunch of like anybody who doesn't know chemistry wouldn't know what the hell it is, but it's literally just balancing chemical equations. Um, so then going all the way back to high school, my junior year, we had chemistry, and I for some reason always picked up on it big time. And the guy that taught the class was a little bit off. He'd been there since the school opened in like 1955, so he'd been there for almost 50 years or something like that. And he still used like the same tests that they had from like back when he started because all it was the same information. Like nothing really had changed. And so each quiz was worth 10 points. if you got 4 out of 10, you got an A. Like that's what this stuff was. If you got 4 out of 10, you were getting an A. A few months into the course, I got 10 out of 10 on every quiz. And so he pulled me aside and he's like, are you cheating? And I'm like, no. And so I took a test in front of that dude, like, and he sat and watched me do it to make sure I'm not cheating. So I'm acing all these quizzes. And then he came to me, and they did this with a couple of students, because this was like a mass thing that I guess a lot of places did. Was his name Doc Brown? Did he have a flux capacitor? No, Frank, he did not have a flux capacitor, and it was not Doc Brown. God, I can't remember his name. But he would ride his bike to school, and like he was a quirky dude that everybody thought had maybe kind of been around mercury too much. You know what I mean? Okay. And I even would joke about that, where we were using our like the thermometers, and he was like, if these break, make sure you get out of the way. He goes, because mercury's poisonous, and he goes, and some people think that I've had too much mercury in my lifetime. And then he just walks away, and we're like, what the hell was that, man? Like, that was weird. So anyway, so I'm acing all these tests and quizzes and stuff, and I remember too, because it was a pain in the ass, because my junior year was right after I had shoulder surgery, so I had the gigantic brace on. Like, remember when I had shoulder surgery this time? It was kind of a sling with a pad.
Right.
This was metal and plastic, and it was huge. I mean, it took up half of your body, and there was a little handle that you would have like this to kind of keep your hand like that, so it's not just like this, because that'll fuck your wrist up. But if you needed to, you could pop that off, and you could move your wrist so that you could write. And I remember taking all these godforsaken chemistry quizzes like this with this gigantic brace on. So anyway, so the teacher comes to me and he was like, hey, we do this summer thing with MIT. And if you score get certain scores on your tests and quizzes, you can go for, it's like a month or 2 months. It's like a summer program where it was like, and you go work at MIT with actual scientists and learn from them. I'm still so pissed to this day I didn't do it, because I didn't do it because I played baseball.
Oh, okay.
But even at that point, with my shoulder all jacked up, I should have been like, oh, this ain't going anywhere. Like, let's try another avenue. Let's try another path. And they offered this to a few students. I don't think anybody took it, because I don't remember if it was expensive or if everybody else had plans. But for me, it was like, well, I want to play baseball. So I didn't end up doing it. But it got to the point where he pulled me to the side. And he was like, I want you to do this because I want to see how far you can go. Like, I want you to go to MIT for chemistry. And I was like, I don't want to play baseball. And it's the fucking laziness here in Brandon. Like, that's what it was. And it's a thing that plagued me for the longest time, where it was, if I can do just enough to get by, that's all I'm going to do. I don't need anything bigger than that. The only reason I'm getting 10 out of 10 on these quizzes is because I got it. I didn't study for anything. I would read the material and I'd pay attention in class, but I wasn't, poring over the books constantly trying to, memorize all this stuff. It was just stuff that, kind of popped into your head when it came to the actual tests. So there you go.
We had talked about coat of arms, I guess, mottos. I think Buzz's was path
of least resistance. Yeah.
Yours would be just enough to get by.
Yeah, or just keep it simple, just enough. Like, that's what it'd be. It was just enough, that's obviously changed, because now I put in just hellacious hours to make sure that you get the morning show, totally Loudwire nights. Whatever the hell else, all the other shit I'm doing, the podcast with Shim, which we had to record one yesterday. It's the one that's going to be released coming up on Monday, because he's in Los Angeles right now, going to conference meetings and stuff like that. David B says slacker. Yeah, I was the definition of a slacker. I mean, if it was a subject that I understood, you would see A's and B's. If it was a subject I didn't understand, you would see C's and D's, because I was not going to put in any effort or work. I hated it. English, man, I could not stand it. I absolutely hated it. And now I read all the damn time, which, by the way, so if you notice, I haven't been talking about books too much recently, because I haven't had that much time. But I've been trying to read The Gunslinger, the first book in the Dark Tower series. Oh, that book's tough. Yeah. It's not grabbing me, man. I think I'm about 6 or 7 chapters in, and I don't think I've touched it in a couple of weeks. Like, for some reason, it's just not. If it's not, it's just not grabbing me. Like, I don't know what it is about the Dark Tower or the Gunslinger. It's just it seems kind of monotonous. So I'm going to keep trying to read it. If I can get through the book, if it finally gets to a storyline that is good, I'll go on to the other Dark Tower books. I'll just move on to something else. Frank says, speaking of a movie that sucked, I'm guessing he's talking about Dark Tower because I did hear that movie sucked. Which it was Idris Elba, and who else was in that? Was it Ryan Reynolds? Why am I thinking Ryan? Or was it Matthew McConaughey? Correct me, Frank. Whatever the hell, just put it in there for me. On that note, it is about time to wrap up this edition of the AfterBuzz. If you guys have anything else that you want to bring up, questions, comments, anything, by all means, fire away in the old YouTube chat right there. I think that's about it. The wife and I are going to be in Austin coming up this weekend because she's got her fellowship that she's working on out there, which is pretty cool. Which actually works out. Frank says, all right, which means Matthew McConaughey was in the Dark Tower. Thank you, Frank. God, what a... So we're going to be in Austin. Oh, what I was going to say is that it's an advantage having a wife that's a physical therapist if you get hurt all the damn time, because I'm always fucking hurt. She can adjust my back or any other issues that I might have going on. But on that note, another big thank you to producer Dave over there. Thank you guys for being in here. Again, if you're watching a replay of this, we do this live on Wednesdays, 10:30 Mountain Time, right here on the KLAQ YouTube channel. You guys can always hit me up. Follow me over on Instagram. It's Brandon_goat_coats. Of course, that name is COATES if you would like to do that as well. And on that note, have yourselves a fantastic Wednesday. And we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. for the Buzz Adams Morning Show. See you later.